Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Lazy Podcast. This is episode 10, and I never imagined that this podcast would last this long. And first of all, I'd like to thank everyone who's listening week in, week out, whenever it's out, because it's not been week in, week out, if I'm being honest. Um, and one thing I did notice, which I hadn't noticed before, is I know on YouTube it does some episodes do better than others, but it it's more consistent on YouTube. And then I had a look on Anchor, and if you don't know, I distribute the podcast to different platforms through Anchor. So Anchor then posts it to like Spotify and Google Podcasts and the Apple Podcasts and everywhere else basically. And then I can check the stats over there, but I very rarely check them, and it has been a while since I did. And I checked yesterday, and there's an estimated audience of about 25 people, which I think is brilliant. And it's like it's great because it means that someone is actually listening to this. Because on YouTube is more like coincidental, I would say. Um, you know, because there's more subscribers on YouTube, and because YouTube is a more popular search engine. So if you do like nice keywords and a title and a thumbnail, chances are that a lot more people are gonna stumble upon it. But on places like Spotify, for example, with like an estimated audience of 20 people, um, you actually have to look for it in a way, which is fantastic. And I just want to say thank you, and it just means that someone is actually listening to these ridiculous podcasts. And this week I would like to talk about, are you doing too much, like, or am I doing too much? Is a damage, are you doing damage to you know in a way yourself, like, you're doing too much or focus on one thing, for example. I'd like to talk about that. And I have always been criticized for sort of doing too many things, especially on the YouTube channel, I would say. Um, because on the YouTube channel at the moment, I do vlogs, I do reviews, I do photography tips, I do videography tips, I do short films. Although it has been a while since I've actually done one of those. I talk about marketing. I talk about a lot of things. And if you don't know this, this is my YouTube channel used to be called Venox Films a couple of years back, and then I actually decided to change it because I realized it wasn't, because Venox Films, it was more about in and around filmmaking and sort of that creative space. But then I realized that that's not all I do. I do a lot more things. And then I realized that it should just be my name, and then I can just do whatever I want, whenever I want it, which is basically what I do on the YouTube channel. um, so yeah, and I always get criticized by people saying, "Oh, you're doing too many things. That's why the channel isn't growing. Or you're doing this and that, and you need to be focusing on one thing." And in one way, yes, you need to focus on. I don't know if it should be one thing, but you need to focus on one like genre, on one niche, to be doing. And for me, I think the one sort of like consistent genre around the channel is sort of like filmmaking, but that's like in a very broad aspect. Like a vlog can also be filmmaking. Yeah, I know it's not a film, but can also be filmmaking. And filmmaking, you can talk about travel filmmaking, you can talk about documentaries, which I would like to talk more about. Like do movie reviews, or like editing, and how do you write a movie, or cinematography, all of that kind of stuff that I do talk about on the channel. Or my personal things as well. And that's why I changed the name from Venox Films, which was pretty much only just talking about films and movies and in and around that, to my name, which, as a person, of course, there's like a lot more things that interest me. It's not like just one thing. um so yeah, and it's like there's especially with YouTube and every social media, I think, but especially with YouTube, there's a exploratory mode, basically that's called, which you try things and you try this and that and try that what works and what doesn't work and and stuff like that, and which I have done, but um I think I everything I've tried I've pretty much kept, I think, except obviously the travel filmmaking for obvious reasons, and a certain deadly virus this year haven't happened hasn't happened. But last year, 2019, my Prague vlogs were my most popular videos, and they are my most watched videos. And I do realize that if I could do more, then maybe the channel would have been more successful. You never know that, but one thing I know is I enjoy doing them, and I think they're pretty good, and I'm very very proud of those videos. But the question is, should you do a lot? If I had to answer that, in my opinion, yeah. Why wouldn't you do a lot more things? Like me as a person, I've done so many things. Like I've worked, like graphic design and marketing and social media, and I like the videos, and I like editing videos. That's something that I would like to do in the future as a job, for example. Why not? I don't see why not. Photography, I edit pictures, I take pictures. Um, like a lot of stuff. And I, I, if you listened to earlier podcasts, you probably have heard that I did go to uni for computer science. I never actually did that as a job, not really, but it's like as you get older, I think you get more, you get interested in different things, and some things do land and other things don't. And the computer science didn't really land. But as I said, it's like I've done so many other things that it's just, like it would be a shame of why wouldn't you want to do them? Because a lot of people say that if you do a lot of things, you wouldn't be good at all of them, which I think is a lot of bullshit. Why wouldn't you be good at them? The the fact that you're doing something else doesn't mean that you can't be good at something else. Like that's why I've always thought of it like that way. And recently, like as far as I don't know, maybe a month ago, I had a job interview, and they had a look at my YouTube channel, and they had a look at the business that I'm trying to start, which I did talk about on the previous video. If you haven't seen it, it might be worth your time. um, so what they told me essentially on the YouTube on the sorry, on the job interview, I can't find my words today, on the job interview, uh, is that they are worried that I would be focused on my own thing and not on the job. That doesn't make any sense to me. Bear in mind, having the YouTube channel and the startup was, I think they said that themselves, one of the key reasons why I got the interview in the first place. So I don't understand how would that then be an issue of me not being focused enough on the job or whatever. It's just, it doesn't make any sense for me. So yeah, I was a bit surprised for that. When that happened, I was a bit surprised because they were the ones to mention that they actually liked that I was doing my own thing, that I was like pursuing other stuff as well. So yeah, we take like if we take a look at the last 10 videos I've done on my YouTube channel, 7, 8, 9, 10, so 10 videos. About 3 months ago, I did that vlog taking pictures of strangers in Birmingham with that photographer. Very nice, like one of my best vlogs recently. Right after that video, there's a video called 5 Most Anticipated Movies of 2020. So immediately you can see like very, very different videos. After that, I did a video called Make Your Photos Pop with One Click. And then I gave away 2 presets, which I think it was brilliant. And again, a very different thing. So we got vlogging, then the movie, and then photography, very different. And then after that, it's the future of DC films, DC Multiverse. It's right around when the DC fandom was happening, and there was a lot of things that they were announcing, which I thought it was brilliant. On the next video, I talked about Tenet and the Tenet experiment and why Tenet failed. At the box office, I think it was a failure anyway. Um, and then after that, there is an episode of the podcast which is called "The King of Vlogging." Why Casey Neistat is still the king of vlogging. Different, completely different. Then we go back to movies. What makes a great movie poster? Talk about movie posters and the more iconic ones and stuff like that. Um, After that is the Google Pixel 5 review that I did, which is one of my most viewed videos, like in the last, I don't know, couple of months. And then after that, we have another episode of the Lazy Podcast called "How I Met Your Mother: How to Make a Bad Ending," which is something I actually talk about it on that podcast as well. That was supposed to be a video, but then I realized it would be such a long video, so I thought I might as well make this to an episode of the podcast. And then the next, which is the latest video I've done about a week ago, it's called "Starting My Business." This is that vlog where I do product photography and I talk about, how and why I decided that I wanted to start my own business. So as you can see, there is so many different things and so many different videos that I'm doing at the same time, different topics and all that. And at the same time, I'm also doing TikTok now, which TikTok I think is picking up a lot more for me. There's about 200 followers now, and that's like in a month, which I know people grow on TikTok really, really fast, but unless you're good looking and unless you're a dancer or a pretty girl, I don't think you're gonna grow that fast. But yeah, it's coming a long way, I think. And after exploration mode, for example, there's a thing called determine what isn't working. And if we would take a look at my YouTube channel right now, views wise, so I know it's really hard to determine what's working and what's not because there's so many factors into it. Like, what factors do you take in? Like, how many views does it get? How many likes does it get? Or comments? Or do you also have to take, in consideration of how much do you enjoy talking about the thing or how much do you enjoy doing a certain thing? So from these 10 different videos that I just mentioned previously, the ones that have done better from all of them is first of all the vlog taking pictures of strangers, um, and then the Google Pixel 5, which has more views, and then starting my own business vlog, which has more views, and then after that is the free preset. So if you look at them only, by numbers, and you'd be like, yeah, that works, do more of that. Um, it also has to do with, good thumbnail, good title, something that people would be interested at the time. Like taking picture of strangers, for example, I think it's a decent thumbnail, and people are interested just, like in that topic. Like if you go outside and talk to a stranger, will they let you take a picture or something like it's an interesting topic. Um, and the Google Pixel 5 video, or for example, it has done better than the others because I posted it like the same day that the phone came out, and it was a very searched topic, like because the phone had just come out. Um, and then the starting my own business, I think it has a very good title. It's called "Starting My Own Business During a Pandemic," and then another keyword there is Pixel 5 Vlog. And this has done better, considerably better than the other videos, is because I would say of the title and of the whole premise, like who's starting your own business. I think it's like a lot of people Google that, or a lot of people will search that on YouTube or anywhere else. So a bit hard to know what's working and what's not, and how do you choose what's working and what's not. Um, so if I was from these 10 videos again, like if I had to take this step and see what works and what not, I would say that the talking about movies, it's not working as much on my YouTube channel as the other videos. That could, from a number for a number of reasons that could be, but mainly because what I think is people will go on like a popular website like Rotten Tomatoes or a popular YouTuber to take to see like their movie reviews or something around the movies. Um, so that would be a topic to talk about. That if you already have a following in a way, which doesn't make any sense to me, and that's why I keep doing them, even though they don't get a lot of views as other more uh, not creative because they are creative as well, but more like original content, sort of like the Google Pixel 5 or the taking pictures of strangers or talking about my business. So yeah, um, and then the other step is determine what is working. If you wanna see if you're doing too much or not. Um, what is working, I think, is pretty. It's always been what the same. Like, of course, if you do more creative stuff, or of course, if you do more original stuff, it's gonna work. Like at first, for example, like I'm gonna talk about TikTok again. Um, I used to post like clips of my YouTube channel on TikTok, and they weren't doing very well. Like because from a marketing point of view, no one knows who I am. Like no one gives a shit anyway who I am. So that's self knowledge. um, so until I started posting originals and original content on TikTok, that just reminded me of Ryan saying, "I don't do copies, I make originals," from The Office. It's just super weird. um, so yes, until I started doing original content on TikTok, they started picking up, and the followers started picking up as well. So I think this is one of the easiest things to determine. I would say. Um, and then which the fourth part, which is I'm reading these steps on a website called perspective-collective.com. Very interesting stuff. So the fourth part, it says combining passion with strengths. Again, I can only take myself as an example because I don't know anyone else and I have no friends. uh, so combining passion with strengths. I think my strengths on the YouTube channel are if I do vlogs, I think they're very well shot and sort of decently shot and decently edited. Um, and another strength is because my channel, you know, is so small, and then people do not expect a sort of certain content. Like if I was a big YouTuber that I gotten my following from a certain video, then people would expect that same video or variations of it all the time. But I have the freedom, and I can have the creative freedom on of doing whatever I feel most like creative doing, or whatever my passion is, which is why you see so many different topics on the YouTube channel. So they say here, find what you love to do and just do it, and then matching that with something that is producing results. Very, very interesting stuff. Um, of course, this can be determined a number of ways, but I'm not gonna be devil's advocate here and say, oh, this and that, but they are kind of right. I do like photography, for example. I do like videography, and that video about taking pictures of strangers, it did decently well for my channel and my numbers. Um, and then the fifth one says go all in, and this on its own it doesn't sound bad. Um, but I think, in my opinion, I think this is wrong. This is the wrong thing to do. Um, because you cannot just focus on one thing, put like 100% on it, and then what if that fails? What are you gonna do if that fails? Like, you need to have alternatives. You need to have other things that you're working on, and you need to be good at, especially in today's like society, you need to be good at more than one thing. And that's a real world, and that's how we live in. Like, you cannot just be a graphic designer. If you're a graphic designer, you also need, I don't know, you need to know about the new trends. You need to know a bit about marketing, and you need to know about UX design, for example, like where things should go, where people will read it, and well, they were not. But it's like it will be complementary to your work, and that's why I disagree with what they've said here, like go all in, which it does sound nice, like, oh yeah, go all in and just focus on doing vlogs, for example. And what if they don't do very well? Like, you should be able to do other stuff, and you should be able to do divide your time. Or I've always believed that if you want things to do, there's always time to do things. I've always believed that you can do a lot of things at the same time, I think. Um, so I don't know what everyone thinks about this. I think especially the last one I completely disagree with. I think you should never put all your eggs in one basket. I think if if that's a saying, I think that is a saying. um, and I think you shouldn't be afraid to try new things, because you never know what's gonna work. And for example, the internet works in mysterious ways, and you never know what's gonna be that hit. It's like, yes, of course, you should be like focusing on one thing and trying one thing, but I think um you can try different things. Like, I don't see why not. And the last question that I have, sort of like for everyone and myself as well, like, why do people that do a lot of things at the same time get criticized a lot? You see it on YouTubers, you see it on actors, you see it on everyone. Like, a successful actor, for example. Oh, why did they buy that business? Or why is Brian Reynolds trying different businesses, like the gin business that he had, or the mobile business that he has now? Because he wants to do his best for himself and his family, and he needs to do more things, because people know that they're not going to be able to be an actor forever. Or with YouTubers, that's the same reason why YouTubers develop their apps or their games or have their merch, or what's the reason they do, like podcasts, and the reason they do other stuff, because YouTube might not be around for, like, the question is, like, if YouTube goes away tomorrow, what are they going to do? So that's one thing people get criticized for it. People criticize them for it, because um like, oh, why do it, just focus on one thing. um yes, but I think it's a good thing to be able to do a lot more at once. And everyone is trying for their best, and everyone is trying to do whatever is right for them. And if you think about it, like from a creative perspective, why wouldn't you do a lot more? Why wouldn't you try other things? It just does not make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. if if I've worked in graphic design, but I also like photography, why wouldn't I do photography at the same time? Or I like marketing and I like social media, but why wouldn't I try, I don't know, do a YouTube video? It's like, this is a thing that everyone should think about. And if you think that you could be good at something, why not try it? Like, have a lot of things and have a lot of options for yourself. Because I've seen it in many people. There comes a time after years and years of them doing the same thing, where that thing is not demanding anymore, or it's not popular anymore, or I don't know, circumstances have changed, and they're finding it hard to find something else to do, because they've all their life they just focused on one thing, and they just, after years and years, they realized, oh shit, maybe I should have done something else, or maybe I should have focused more on other things as well, not just that job or this thing, whatever that is. So if you can take one thing from this podcast, is if you want to try something, try it out. If you feel like you could be any good at it, why not give it a chance? That's how I've always thought about it. And you should never put your eggs in one basket, because you never know if that basket is gonna last forever. That was a terrible analogy, but you get what I mean. So I think this is it for the Lazy Podcast for this week. Episode 10. Never thought that would last this long. Very happy, pumped that there's people from Spotify and all over the place listening. Thank you very much for listening. It really does mean a lot. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're listening from any of the other platforms, Anchor, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcast, you can actually follow on these platforms, and then every time a podcast goes up, you can actually listen to it. Again, thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.